Okay, so we are back with, as I say, I just managed to stop this recording rather than pausing it. So this will be a kind of second part, as it were. I have chosen our unseen for this evening. This is on the second one down on the first column, the Empire Club. So the first one of these is a paint the scene, so that will be addressed to everyone. I've put Anders in for the second prompt, Sabine for the third, and David for the fourth. So the Empire Club is situated in a grand townhouse just off St. James's Square. Membership is popular among young aristocratic sons of lower birth order, many of whom have travelled to or profit from holdings abroad. Select invitations have been granted to those of less esteemed breeding who have managed to make their mark and a small fortune overseas. It boasts card games till the early hours of the morning, cooks from the four corners of the world, and plentiful bedrooms for those far from home or avoiding their family. Tall tales and business deals alike are shared over brandy and cigars. So we'll do the first question now, which said a paint the scene one for everybody. So, beyond the wood-panelled walls and leather armchairs, what signs of masculinity and power are on display here? And I'll come to you first, Sabine, if that's okay.
Well, yes, that is very okay. So the first thing that you will notice, obviously, is the crossed swords over the heart, over an enormous fireplace. And there are stories to go with these swords and where they have been and who they have killed and stuff like that. And they look very sharp and heavy. And these are not a pace or anything. These are rapiers. These are long swords, like, yeah, right? Don't need to say anything else, right?
Awesome. That's brilliant. Thank you. David, I'll come to you next, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there might be a collection of big game hunting trophies that have been imported from Africa. It's a bunch of rich men who take their big guns and go shoot big animals off in the colonized southern parts of Africa and bring them back to show what brilliant hunters they are, even though it's perhaps a more curated experience than that.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, and Anders, what's another thing we see showing masculinity and power?
I think in one of the larger rooms there are portraits of prominent members or former members, all men, of course, who have held political office or that sort of thing, or have otherwise wielded great amounts of public power.
Yeah, so as you arrive at the séance at the Cadwallader House, there is this is a fashionable townhouse in Mayfair. It's expensively but tastefully decorated. So you will have been greeted at the door by a footman who will sort of brought you inside. And even though this isn't kind of like an open event per se, I think that you know after a brief moment of conferring with the hostess, you are essentially judged interesting enough to be brought in. Of course, if anyone wants to be like coming in less openly or anything like that, we can address that as well. But certainly, if you wish to, you will all just be able to get like invited in. I'm not going to make that a big deal. Yeah, so when you get inside, as I said, it's expensively but tastefully decorated, but there are signs of mourning here. There is like it's a black wreath on the front door. And most notably, when you come inside, all of the mirrors and all of the portraits have all been covered with veils. But yeah, and I'm going to ask another paint the scene question, hot on the heels of the last one, which is, what traces of the late Lord Cadwallader still linger in the house, and how are they being expunged? So yeah, I will come in, and David, I'll ask you first this time, if that's okay.
You said these are what traces of the late Lord Cadwallader are still present, and how are
Yeah,
they
that's right. So I will introduce first, just so you know who we're talking about here. So the hostess is Lady Clara Cadwallader. She is quite young, very well bred, dressed in mourning garb as well, and looking very good in it. Her husband was a brigadier in the Indian Army, Lord St. John Cadwallader, but recently died while he was on leave here in England. Clara has inherited a small fortune from her late husband, and basically, while she's still in mourning, this is one of the few social engagements she can throw that's sort of relatively above board.
Got it.
But yes,
So
the question was, sorry, was which, what traces of the late Lord Cadwallader still linger in the house, and how are they being expunged?
Well, you said he was a brigadier down in India.
Yep, that's right.
I imagine that he has brought back with him all manner of fine spices, herbs, teas from India and Sri Lanka and so forth. And there once was this great palpable odor of all of these herbs and spices that permeated the whole lower floor of the house. But now that he's gone and there's no one to really cook for or dine with, they're all just kind of going old, and their pungency is decreasing. And so the smell is slowly fading, as with her memory of her husband.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Sabine.
Yeah, there is a portrait of Lord Cadwallader. Oh, sorry, I mean, of the Lord, the Brigadier, and it is a very pompous portrait, right, in his uniform and medals and things, and this enormous mustache that he had, and it has a sort of a wreath of grief, of course, but it's also kind of almost veiling the portrait, and also that portrait is very prominently put at the entrance. So you see it when you walk in, but if you live in that house, you probably won't see it a lot.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And Anders.
I think the servants are being replaced because he was the one who hired the original servants, but now that he's gone, they are being replaced with ones who better suit the mood and the needs of his wife or his widow.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So as I say, you will all be welcomed into the into the house. The other guests present here are obviously Madam Sorokin is here. She will look a bit surprised to see you all here, but you know, she's doesn't particularly remark on it to you at the moment. There is also a man in Royal Navy uniform, seems to be a captain, has a neat beard, slightly shaky hands though, and yeah, he's sort of sat at this table in the parlor. There is also very immaculately dressed, debonair man. He has a cigarette holder he's smoking from, and he has a neatly trimmed beard. Who will be introduced as, so these two will be introduced as Captain Silas Fairweather and Count Vasily Orlov, and also there is the Edwin Belmont will be present as well at this evening, probably I would imagine on your prompting rather than by choice. And obviously the final person who will also be here is someone familiar again to Ardent, is Miss Volpe. Alessandra Volpe is here again, as before, dressed sort of head to toe in black, with the big black veil covering her face. Lady Clara will say, well, it's a strange, it's a delight, I'm sure, to have such unexpected but impressive guests. I suppose we could not have asked for better guests at a séance in the residence of Hargrave House. I have heard some chatter about your exploits.
Yes, I will thank her for her hospitality and explain that this is of particular interest to our research into matters of the spirit and also of the mundane world. But we would not distract, of course, from your event.
No, of course, I'm sure it'll be most entertaining. Do come and join us. But yeah, we don't necessarily have to go through the whole process of going through the séance, but I'm wondering what do people want to try and do here?
Yeah, I'm not sure how forward we should be about confronting her and or if we.
I think for the first part we would just watch and see what's actually going on, because there seems to be something that she wants to tell us, right? She has been very oblique about the thing, but there was something she wanted us to see, and so we maybe let her lead this whole thing a little.
Yeah, sure thing. So I think the séance will begin. The lights have all been dimmed down. low when and she's going through the usual sort of séance stuff. There is some contacting of spirits, some there are some like she doesn't use a Ouija board, but she's kind of answering a few questions that people have for the spirits and so on and so forth. It's obvious from this that the captain and Lady Clara are both very into this. Count Orlov seems less so. He probably has his own reasons for being here, but he doesn't seem to be quite sold on the whole premises as he is certainly not as he intends to portray. Alessandra seems largely amused by proceedings, and Edwin Belmont is again mostly here to see what happens rather than for any genuine connection to the spirit world. However, after this has been going on for a little while, there will be a sudden wind blows through the room, and it feels like a cold wind, and the sort of gas lights that were down sort of fairly low will all blow out at once. The room gets very dark, not completely pitch dark. There's still sunlight spilling in from outside, but it gets a lot darker, and you will see the mirror has been brought here as well. It's on kind of like a little stand by the table, and you will start to see shifting shadowy figures moving around in the surface of the mirror. There seems to be a slight glow to it, even though the lights in the room, as like I said, are at this point very dim, almost completely dark, as they sort of chase across the surface of the mirror. And at that point, we will go to our second unseen question. So this one is for Anders. A boisterous game of cards is played by some of the young bucks. Amidst the bluff and bluster, how do we see the differences between those with great wealth and noble blood and those with only one or the other?
It's noticeable in the attitude towards the betting, because those who have both noble blood and great wealth, they're very casual about betting large sums, and obviously the ones who don't have great wealth, they have to back down. They're very cautious, and they will sometimes win because the people who are less cautious are they'll bet some money on a whim. They may have a bad hand, but they'll still put in a sum just to see what happens. And the ones who have only great wealth, they are afraid or worried about offending the people with the noble blood, so they will also play carefully, and think about what they're doing, not just in terms of winning or losing, but also the social game around the whole thing.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, there is this disturbance in the mirror, and I think that this is causing a bit of genuine panic at the table, at least from the more mundane, shall we say, members of the audience here. The Madam Sorokin is kind of it seems a little bit rattled by what's going on, but is trying to kind of play along to this, but Alessandra still has just that air of just being quite amused by proceedings. I think, but yeah, this is clearly sort of something odd is going on here.
I think I will avoid the mirror and looking into the mirror quite studiously, actually. But why would I watch a mirror? I know what I look like, right? And I will watch, what was the blackmail victim's name? Edwin
Yeah,
thingy.
Edwin Belmont, that's right.
Edmund Belmont. I will watch him. What's happening with him?
Yeah, he's clearly, again, he's clearly like startled by this, but he also has that air of someone who is used to staying calm in a crisis, but this clearly has him on edge, and he's yeah, you know, yeah, disconcerted by the by the state of affairs.
Can I get a sense as to whether the origin of all this problem is better characterized as the mirror? Like, is the mirror the source of all this bizarre activity, or is it more of like an Alessandra?
Yeah, sure thing. I think if you would like to make no, there's actually, because this probably isn't the information move, because it's not really a clue you're looking for here. I think that you it's obviously originating on and linked to the mirror, absolutely. However, I think as you are watching this, as you're kind of focusing in on Alessandra, and you know your senses are particularly sharp this evening, you can just make out her like murmuring under her breath in what sounds like either Latin or an archaic Italian dialect.
And she's seated around the table with the rest of us?
Yes, she is, yep.
I almost want to just see, I don't want to shoot the mirror if I don't have to. But at the same time, it's going to look real bad if I shoot her without any indication that she's actually causing problems. I wonder if there might be a way to interrupt this spell that she is seemingly casting over everything. My first inclination is to no, that's actually I quite like that, John. Actually, I should just swoon directly into her. That's on the table, actually. Were you gonna say something, Ardent? Okay. Man, it's either that or just go straight to pointing my weapon at her.
I mean, if you don't want to shoot the mirror, maybe you, because you're such a great shot, you could shoot like the frame of the mirror to tilt it or something.
Or just shoot the glass in front of the mirror so it drops and splatters the mirror with some liquid or something.
Perhaps.
Or just point your gun at her and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a particularly elegant solution, but I mean, especially given how, you know, my senses are all peaked up and so forth. I think the most Trixie move to play here would be to stand up, quick draw my revolver, and point it across the table at Alessandra, and just say to her, "Shut it, lady."
Awesome. So I think this will be I think this will be a roll with presence, but you will get advantage on that from your 45.
That's
Oh, sorry, and I should ask first, what are you afraid will happen if this goes badly? This will be the night move, obviously, so I should have said, but
yes, I think I'm afraid that whatever god-awful spirits she's conjuring up are going to get me personally.
Yes, absolutely. It's and it's worse than that. That yeah, the spirits that she's summoning from the mirror are very, very dangerous ones. They will tear you apart with ease. But yeah, if you'd like to make that roll, or if you've already made that roll, reveal the result.
Yeah, but this is you said with presence.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me click over. I haven't made a presence roll in quite some time. That's a is that a 0 or a 1 for me? It's a 1.
+1.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you said with advantage because the gun's involved.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Let's see how it goes. See, I told you the luck was going to run out come night phase. There it is. That's a 6, even with the advantage.
Yeah. So as you stand and point the gun at her, she will say, "Why, of course, my dear, I will." She kind of raises her hands, in the traditional sign of surrender. But as she does, from within the mirror, dart. They are strange, wispy looking beings. They look like, well, they do look like reflections of people in a mirror, but like I said, again, in that very like faint, indistinct sort of way. And they rush out of the mirror, and even as you're turning towards them, they slash at you with their hands, and that it's like they're made of glass, these spectral images, and it's there's just like a storm of blood as they tear as they tear into Trixie in the center of the room.
Well, that doesn't sound too good for her. I will. Whew, I'm finally getting to the point where I'm running out of masks. I'll put on a mask of the future, and we'll bump that up to a 7 to 9.
Awesome. So on a 7 to 9, yeah, I think how this will look is the mirror, the mirror will, she will stop chanting, though she is glaring daggers at you. But the mirror starts to sort of like pacify a little. But as you pull the gun on Alessandra, Count Orlov will pull a gun of his own. It's much smaller than your than your 45, but a small pocket gun that he points at you and says, "Come now, let us not spoil what has every chance to be a very pleasant evening. Put the gun away, please, miss."
Didn't expect you to be with her, Count. I say this, still pointing the gun at her, but kind of like looking over his my shoulder while he's pointing the gun at me.
Can we interfere with this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Count?
No. Absolutely.
I'm super screwed right now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I will totally interfere now, and I'll say, "No, come, Count. Let's all put away our weapons." And I kind of tap his arm with my cane, which I have with me because I need a cane, right? Doctors need canes for reasons. This is no way to behave in a civilized society. And I look at Alessandra and I feel that any disturbances of the séance should be left to Madam Sorokin. Don't you agree? All of you.
Okay, so we're just going to cut away to our next unseen, and then we'll jump back into things. So, and this one is actually for you, Sabine. Two older gentlemen, Sir Mortimer Holland and Colonel Bulstrode, grumble about the lax morals and deficient work ethic of the younger generation. What complaints do they make, and how do we see the envy for their youth?
I think these that is general grumbling, right, that older people do, and I think Sir Mortimer will say, well, in my day and age, people would never have behaved like this quarreling over a table game. We would have discussed this like gentlemen. And the other one, Colonel Bulstrode, will go, yes, I would just bump him on the head. And that probably was not what Sir Mortimer was going for, but so yes, well. And then you know what they are wearing, these effeminate colors and these frills. We never got to have frills. And Colonel Bulstrode goes, well, I remember you having fun, and no, I mean, yeah, well, frills, yeah. These fellows here, they they wouldn't make it a centimeter or whatever we use, inches. Sorry, they wouldn't have made it an inch. And he names battlefield. I was totally out of battlefields, and Sir Mortimer says, yes, these young whippersnappers. Look at them go. They are all very drunk. We were more drunk like them than them. Marty, haha, Morty, remember my old friend when we were at this club when we were young? We wouldn't have had this namby-pamby stuff that they are doing here. The youth now, they are morally corrupt. That's what they are. And Sir Mortimer is very relieved to find something that he can totally agree with. Yes, they. Oh, so much. Look at the rings on this fellow. Oh my God. Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you. And yeah, we will come back to the sounds. So, Dr. Fenworth, I think I'm going to ask you. I think actually this will probably again at this stage be the night move with presence as well. And again, I'm going to ask what are you afraid will happen if this goes badly?
I am afraid that this idiot will lose control of this instrument of war that he probably does not know to use half as well as Trixie, and that he might shoot either her or me or Mr. Caseberry, or that he might, God forbid, damage my hands.
Yeah, and I think it's worse than that. He is in fact quite well trained with a pistol, and he will shoot Trixie we'll also get a shot off at you before anyone's able to react. This won't necessarily be lethal. I'm going to put that out there, not necessarily lethal, but he's definitely going to kind of start shooting and provide skilled at doing so.
Damn it. Okay, and I'm rolling with presence, I assume.
Yeah, that's right. Assuming you're just keeping it at the level of like trying to talk everyone down. If you're actually just going to kind of lunge in, then that will be vitality. But
no, I think talking people down in this situation seems like a good idea. I had another one, but right now this is escalated too far to do the other thing. So I'll do it. I'll try to roll. Yes, it's a 7. It's an 8. It's not too bad. Worse.
Yeah, so I think that what's going to I think how this looks is the Count is going to say, very well, I have no desire to see anyone hurt unnecessarily here. I will put down my gun if your friend there does the same.
Certainly, if Signora Mopel would stop murmuring whatever incantations she's trying to amuse us with.
And Trixie, are you willing to put your gun down?
That's a great question.
Maybe lower it.
I'm almost inclined to say to Alessandra, all right, I'll put it down. But I held my finger this time. And I know what you're up to.
I think we get that kind of moment where everyone kind of gingerly puts their guns down on the table. Um, and Ardent, I just want to check in with you while this exchange has been going on. What's your sort of focus been on?
I think Ardent has been completely focused on the mirror and just trying to make sure it doesn't do anything.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, if you would like, again, we'll call this. Yeah, this will be. I think we'll just initially go for the night move with sensitivity, please. Oh, and yeah, what are you afraid will happen? Well, you're trying to calm down the mirror, as it were.
Yeah. I don't want. I think he's more worried about something going into the mirror than anything coming out of it at this point, because he had that strange experience before.
Yeah, I think that will be it. If it will be actually a bit of both, in that those ghosts that we've already seen prefigured will emerge from the mirror, but they will drag Madam Sorokin into the mirror with them.
Yeah, we don't want that. Oops. That's a 1 and a 3, so that's a 4. Was this with sensitivity?
It is, yep.
Yeah, so then I get to a 7.
7. Okay. So I think that this you are able to kind of counteract some of what Alessandra has been doing with the mirror. I think the complication here is I think we'll just actually go with I think you can take the condition I think we'll just go with drained, actually. I think as you're kind of trying to like work with the magics of this mirror, you can sort of feel your some of your essence being kind of sucked out of you. You can feel that sort of chill of the void beyond the mirror pulling at you. But you are able to kind of contain the power that it seems to be emanating. And I think at this, Alessandra will actually, so we'll go for our last unseen question. So David, Francis Ackerman has recently returned from the subcontinent. As he retires to the bedroom he has taken at the club, how do we see him drop his stern facade and express his vulnerability?
I think that he takes out a small book, which purportedly would be a journal or something like that, something that he's documenting his hunting trip or his interactions with the people down on the subcontinent but actually, as he opens it and sits down, you'll find that it's actually full of very beautifully worded poetry. And he begins composing a poem of the trip that he just returned from, and he expresses it in very eloquent and romantic, with a capital R sort of language. And the whole thing comes across with a great deal of emotional sensitivity that belies the otherwise macho kind of boys club that's going on down below.
Awesome, thank you. So I think Alessandra is going to say, so we appear to be at something of an impasse. What is your next move, hunters? She will say, kind of with a smile. Well, again, difficult to say. She's got a veil on, but you can tell when she's smiling. You know, she's got one of those very her voice is kind of dripping with that sort of slightly wry sense of levity.
Now, do we know that she's necessarily affiliated with Lord Falkenberg at this point?
I do not know if any of you expressly know that she is working with him to the extent that she is. Put it that way. We've seen the sign like out of character. We've had that like cutscene essentially. You know that she knows him. You don't necessarily know that that she is working for him.
I'm almost inclined to, and I mean I'll be curious what John and Ardent what you think, but I'm inclined to more or less ask her, you know, who do you work for? You're a pawn just like everyone else here. Tell us, be honest, and I'll let you leave with your head still put together, is kind of the way I'm thinking of phrasing it. Unless John or Ardent, you want to do something otherwise or edit or anything.
No, that seems appropriate. And also we might add what the purpose of this little theater here with the mirror is.
Mm-hmm. So I think for my part, I'll say, oh, this is no impasse. Sure, my gun's on the table, his gun's on the table, but between the two of us, who do you think's got the faster trigger finger?
And I think that's also going to be the point where Edwin pulls a revolver as well and says, likewise, no one thought to ask me whether I was carrying one either, so I'm going to have to ask you to answer the young lady's questions, please, Miss Volpe. And you can see the Count is very much scowling at Edwin, and Alessandra, I think, will kind of almost like lean back in her chair and say, I won't bore you with all of the insignificant details, but yes, I am working for someone else. I am, as you would put it, maybe a bishop, shall we call it that? But my master is far beyond what we are doing, this little game we are playing here. The Count came to me to help him. He has been working against the government for some time now, running spies, all that sort of thing. The Count starts to kind of object and so on and so forth, but Alessandra just waves a hand and he starts to kind of choke on his own words. He and his influence were useful to us for a time, but I think that little relationship has run its course. I had rather hoped to get my hands on the mirror once we had finished with our young medium here, but I suppose that is not to be, unless you wish to send me away with it.
You'll walk out of here with what you have in your pockets.
I thought that might be the case. Very well.
And your head intact if you do it right now.
I will make my exit. Thank you, everyone. It's been a most enjoyable evening. And she will carefully and slowly stand, clearly, making an effort to not make any kind of sudden movements. And she will back out of the room. And I think the Edwin will stand as well and say, "Well, thank you, gentlemen, Miss Farley. I should probably take my leave now as well. And dear Count, why don't we go for a little walk together? I'm sure we have some business we can discuss." Then he will kind of head off. As this sort of all comes to a close, Seraphima will actually thank you, and you in particular, Ardent, and she'll say, "Thank you. That was a relief. It's a long story, but Alessandra did something to bind me to that mirror. I think you broke it with whatever you did. She was having me, well, you see, I just was trying to make a living."
Yes, as are we all.
Yeah, and I think that is where we will leave things for tonight. So thank you very much, everyone. We will come back next time for our dealing with our mastermind. But yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. Thank you very much. I will stop recording.